You know, Arthur, I don't think I've talked to you about how to be a free market AEI capitalist in an age where earlier this week we heard the government gave $1.6 billion to develop a vaccine. We've got PPP. The government is saving our collective butts. Does the government, do free market types get a once in 100-year pass on saying that everything should be settled in the marketplace? Because I think I said there's no capitalists in foxholes, in pandemic foxholes.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things that Adam Smith always talked about is that there's certain roles for government. And one of those roles is the creation of public goods, which will be underproduced by private markets, or, you know, crime or pollution or monopoly. Those are legitimate functions for government. The problem is not that. The problem is not that the government is trying to help us find a vaccine against the pandemic. The problem is that the government is in every nook and cranny of our lives and growing by the second. That's the real problem. So you can be a free market conservative like you, Joe, and say, look, absolutely, the government should do national security up one side and down the other. The government should do these policies, should help us develop a vaccine, and at the same time shouldn't control every element of our lives. Those are completely consistent philosophies.
All right, so see, this is, I'm thinking about like laying down and let you tell me how to think about a lot of these things, because I struggle with a lot of these things. Is there a private sector solution, a growth solution out of this this morass that we find ourselves in terms of $25 trillion deficit or debt and the Fed and everything else?
Yeah, there's only a private sector solution, because capitalism and the free market economy are what's pulled us out of every crisis ever. Now, that doesn't mean the government doesn't have a role. The government has a very important role, but the idea of the government saving the economy, that's not correct.
Who would you raise
government can do a lot.
Who would you raise taxes on right now, Arthur? Would you raise taxes on corporations? I mean, I'm starting to think we need to raise taxes on somebody, but corporations are the ones. I don't know if those are the things we need to rescind, those tax cuts, because that's why, it brings jobs back, hopefully, and creates jobs. But somebody, middle class and upper class, we need a tax hike probably to pay for this. No?
Yeah, but there's another way to do it too. I mean, I agree with that, but there's one thing that we haven't thought of before. How many assets does the federal government own that it actually could divest itself of and inject those into the private sector economy to productive and efficient use? We need to be thinking more carefully, more seriously about all the stuff that the federal government owns that's worth trillions and trillions of dollars. This is our privatization moment, when we can actually pay back some of the money that we've spent, and at the same time get a better economy, the economy that we really should have and we wanted from the very beginning. This could be, look, we're going to have to pay more, but this could also be a win-win with respect to the federal government shrinking. Okay,
I have an Ivy League person once in here, a co-Ivy Leaguer. Andrew.
No, Arthur. It's to the same issue that Joe was just talking about in terms of taxes, which is, I think that there are people who look at this particular moment and say, we created effectively an insurance policy for corporations. Shouldn't they have to pay effectively a premium on that insurance? And by the way, we've done that for the businesses, but we haven't necessarily done that at the same level for individuals and their health care and all these other component parts. I'm with Joe, actually, in that I don't know if raising taxes on corporations is necessarily the right answer, insofar as it makes it harder to employ more people. I do wonder whether the wealthiest among us need to pay more in the same way that workers, frontline workers especially, went to work in hospitals and went to work at the cash registers at Walmart, and that was their contribution during this pandemic. And that those of us who've been blessed to make money during this period that our contribution should be in the form of higher taxes. What do you think of that?
I think that that's going to wind up what happens anyway. I think, ultimately the government is going to have to find some way to float what we've done fiscally, and they're going to go where the money actually is, which is with the people who are making the most money. So whether that's the moral solution or not, I think that's the practical solution, and that's where things are going to wind up. We're going to wind up with marginally higher tax rates. I think we're going to find, a new way of actually tax. We're probably going to have to be more creative about how we tax consumption better, with some carve outs for people who are really at the margins. I think that's where we're going to wind up. So whether someone likes it or not, I think that's what we're going to get.